He hit a moment in the spotlight most quarterbacks only dream about. Then, 2 plays later, the rug was pulled out from under him. Matthew Stafford walked into the first quarter and did what he's done his whole career: make the impossible look routine. A 4-yard dart to Davante Adams in the end zone. Clean footwork, perfect touch, and with it, Stafford broke a streak that had him tied with Tom Brady. 28 straight touchdown passes without an interception. It's the kind of stat that lives in highlight reels and Hall of Fame chatter. It's the kind of number Broadway lights up when you're trying to sell a legacy. And then, in the very next possession, football reminded us it's a game that doesn't do narratives on a schedule. A tipped pass at the line sailed into the arms of Nick Scott in the end zone. An interception. The chain of history suddenly wore a hairline crack. On the following drive, Stafford targeted Puka Nacua in the flat, a routine, safe throw in the scheme, and Panthers cornerback Mike Jackson read it like an open book. He picked it off at midfield, and then the play did what defenders love. He ran it back all the way for a pick six. 28 turned to 2 in the blink of an eye, and the Rams, who had seemed settled atop the NFC, were left scrambling to explain how a moment of historic brilliance became a momentum freefall. This isn't just about a stat line. It's about what the game does when it refuses to let you live in a single frame. Stafford had thrown 30 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions heading into Sunday. Elite numbers, MVP whispers, a team that looked like a number 1 seed waiting to be stamped. But the 2 interceptions? They weren't textbook misreads. One was a tipped throw, an unlucky bounce that turned routine into chaos. The other was a defensive playmaker jumping the route. Both are reminders of the sport's cruel arithmetic. In the NFL, volume of highlights matters less than timing of mistakes. Let's parse the emotions for a second. For Stafford, this is complicated. He's a veteran whose career has been a roller coaster of brilliance and injury and resilience. He sets an all-time mark, an achievement that cements a late career renaissance, and then he watches the team hemorrhage a double turnover swing that costs them the game. For fans, it's whiplash, pride in the record, then raw disappointment in the loss. For the Rams and the coaching staff, it's a practical problem. How do you insulate a veteran QB against variance? And how do you ensure one tipped ball doesn't rewrite a season? Football answers in 2 languages: scheme and personnel. A tipped pass is part luck, part pocket pressure, part protection breakdown. A ball that's batted at the line often speaks to how the rush collapses the pocket or how the quarterback's mechanics change under duress. The Puka interception? That's textbook route anticipation and elite secondary play. When a corner gambles and wins, it's a highlight. When an offense loses 3 times on the same day, it's a pattern to fix. And fix is the right word, because the cost was more than a single game. The Rams, sitting at 9-2, were effectively ousted from first place in the NFC after that loss. It's not just pride. Seeding, home field dynamics, playoff matchups all shift. In December, those margins matter. 1 turnover swing, 1 gift pick six can rework a team's entire path to January. Here's the thing about Stafford's record. It still exists. Records don't evaporate because a subsequent play goes wrong. That 28 touchdown stretch without an interception is a line in the ledger that historians will always see. But the NFL is merciless about memory. It remembers both the record and the moments that undercut it. What will be debated is the narrative that runs between those 2 events. Is this a vintage Stafford moment, the veteran who still commands the field, or the beginning of a brief late career slide? Right now, reality sits in the middle. Both are true at once. What does this mean for Stafford personally? He's been discussed as an MVP candidate, and he still belongs in that conversation. Those 30 touchdowns before the game don't vanish. But votes come in December, and voters weigh recent losses and late-game turnovers heavily. Narrative and numbers are married in human ballots. A single game where the ball tips a different way can change perception. For coaches and teammates, the demand is forensic. Clean protections emphasize high percentage throws in critical moments and make the pocket feel like a safe place for Stafford again. For the Rams offense, the prescription is straightforward and brutal. Tighten the pocket. Clean the pre-snap reads so Stafford isn't forced into quick reactions that invite deflections. Scheme should generate easier completions when the defense brings heat. quick ins, slides, check down outlets that preserve rhythm. For the receivers, it's about spacing and timing. Create windows that stay open long enough for a veteran QB to get the ball where it needs to go. For the offensive line, it's a week of tape study and technique work to minimize those batted passes at the line. Let's not forget the Panthers in this story because they earned this moment. Nick Scott's end zone interception and Mike Jackson's scoop and score were reminders that good defenses can flip narratives. They don't care about milestones. They hunt the ball, exploit edges, and when they get a chance, they make plays that echo. For Carolina, this win is life-giving, a statement that they can compete, that a veteran team's moment of glory doesn't have to be permanent. The human element is where this becomes interesting. Stafford, older, battle-tested, and still stubbornly elite in many ways, will face the same questions any elite player faces when spotlight turns. How do you respond? Do you double down on the process, get film in your bones, and let the next 3 weeks be a correction? Or does a loss like this seep into a narrative that colors every choice he makes on the field? The answer will come in how the Rams play next. Do they turn the page, or do they flinch? History loves paradox. Think about a line like this. Stafford set an NFL record, and in the same game, threw the kind of interceptions that alter playoff maps. Both facts can be true without canceling each other. Football's texture is filled with those ironies. The challenge for Los Angeles is ensuring the irony becomes a footnote rather than the headline of their season. So what's the takeaway? Celebrate the record, because it's real and rare. Also, fix the things that led to the interceptions, because they're fixable and December is coming. Stafford's legacy grows by the accumulation of both triumph and recovery. The Rams' season will be defined by how quickly they translate this painful lesson into cleaner execution. In the end, the box score will show a historic mark and a brutal swing. The story that follows will depend on next week's response. Because in football, unlike in highlight reels, a single moment never has the final say. You want jaw-dropping? Here's the scene. Matthew Stafford opened the game by doing the very thing that's been his season-long magic trick. A touchdown pass that pushed him past Tom Brady's mark for most consecutive TD passes without an interception. And then, in the blink of an eye, the whole narrative flipped. The record was real, but the story didn't stick. Stafford immediately threw 2 interceptions, one of which was scooped and returned for a touchdown. And the Carolina Panthers walked out of Charlotte with a 31-28 upset that felt equal parts stunning and inevitable. Reuters picture the roller coaster. First drive, Stafford connects with Davante Adams in the end zone, the kind of play that makes highlight reels and stat charts sing. The locker room buzz begins. Then, on the very next drives, pressure and chaos bite. A tipped pass became an interception in the red zone, and a split second later, Mike Jackson was streaking 48 yards the other way with a pick six that punched the Panthers' ticket to Momentum Town. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, Carolina, led by Bryce Young's 3 touchdown passes, had done everything necessary